following are classified as drones. This is the famous DJI Phantom 4 Pro. This is another drone, commonly known as a quad. It's a play drone. This is another one. This is another one. Yet again, the standard for propellers, classified as a drone or quad. This is one of the smaller ones, under 250 grams, still classified as a drone. This, believe it or not, is also classified as a drone under the RPA classification from CASA. That's right, it's a remote piloted aircraft, so it's a drone. This is a drone, but we know it's a helicopter. I'm just letting you know. Same with this one coming up. Stay tuned, I'll explain much more in a moment.
Hey guys, it's Rick from Rick Chat RC. How you going? The world of RC is changing as we know it. And who do we have to thank for all this? Well, believe it or not, I'd say the popularity in drones has changed everything. A drone can pretty much be flown by anyone. The drone landscape, the drone world has opened up a whole new hobby, a whole new industry. A child can fly a drone. Anyone can pick up the transmitter and fly a drone. They practically fly by themselves. And they've allowed the average person in the street to literally go where no man, woman or child has gone before. And that's why we have this new regulation and legislation coming through from CASA. Now you may have heard that CASA is introducing some new legislation starting from the 1st of July. Some of it's been pushed out depending what category you fit in, but essentially everything that's 250 grams and below or less is going to have to be registered, which I personally think is a crying shame. Look, there are some overall exemptions. If you belong to a club, you probably don't have to go that far. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of it all, but essentially if you are a drone flyer, look out. You're going to have to perhaps register your drone, even for recreational flying, and you're going to have to be a lot more careful about what you do and how you do and where you go and so on. Now, what intrigues me about the drone landscape is that here we have a technology, and I'll just show you one as an example. This is one of the ever popular DJI Phantom 4 Pro. It's one of the most sophisticated pieces of electronic equipment I've ever come across. Now, it's not huge, it's not large, but it's powerful. It packs a punch. It's got enough state-of-the-art technology in here to blow your mind. And you know what? It doesn't cost the earth. Their average price, depending on where you buy, is anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 to $2,500 to $3,000. This depends on the model you get. This has collision avoidance. This has return to home. It's got a whole bunch of features. You can program the height that you can fly or that you want to fly into the DJI app. You can program the perimeter from which you're going to fly in. So if you don't want this to fly past 50 meters or 100 meters, the aircraft will basically stop when it gets to that distance. Everything is programmable through the app. Now, this is, in my books, safer than your average remote control plane, helicopter or glider. When I started flying RC, we flew by the seat of our pants. And as far as I'm concerned, even today, I fly by the seat of my pants. I don't have any special equipment other than my standard transmitter, my receiver, and my servos. I don't have any bailout technology. I don't have any fly, return to home technology. I fly my heli, I fly by the seat of my pants. I fly my plane, I fly my glider, I fly by the seat of my pants. And that's how you become a good flyer. Now, there is more risk attached to flying an ordinary remote control plane, helicopter or glider than there is in flying one of these as far as I'm concerned. This is pretty much automatic, right? You can give the transmitter for this thing to a child and this will be able to take off and fly steadily in heavy winds, and whoever's got the controls can have a lot of fun with this. Sure, you can take photos, you can take video. Sure, it's become a bit of a privacy issue. You know, there are people flying over houses, there are people flying over people, invading other people's privacy. You know what? When you first get something like this, sure, you find out what it can do, you break the boundaries, but it's just the gimmick part of understanding what this is capable of. It's the wow factor. We all try things when we get them, but in my personal opinion, I don't believe it's the norm. I don't believe that most people go out and break the law. Sure, there are some rogue flyers out there that will go beyond 400 feet, 120 meters. There are some rogue flyers out there that will fly closer than 30 meters to people, buildings and structures, which you're not supposed to do. But I don't believe the majority of people are a threat. And, you know, this is one of the safest pieces of remote control aircraft I've ever come across. You know, I took a mate of mine out to the park at least 12 months ago. It was a very windy day and I was going to demo this for him. I took off and I was so surprised at how stable it was. You know what? I gave the controls to my mate. He knows nothing about RC. He's never flown before and he had full control. I was over his shoulder. I was explaining how to move the levers on the transmitter slowly, left, right, up, down. He had no issue with it. If I had done the same thing with a remote control plane, I could have been in a lot more trouble. I wouldn't even contemplate giving him the controls of my RC helicopter. That's just asking for death. That's just asking for trouble. A glider? Possibly. A helicopter? No. A drone like this? Definitely. It's safe. Okay? We can go where no man, woman or child has been able to go before. And we can take some fantastic footage, be it video or photos. And we can come home safely, even if we can't see the damn thing because we've flown beyond visual line of sight. And that's another no-no, by the way. So we can go where we weren't able to go before. Previously, we'd have to pay or charter a helicopter pilot or an aeroplane to take the shots. That would have cost hundreds of dollars just to take some footage, just to take some photos. Now, we have the technology in the palm of our hands. And you know what? You don't even have to buy something this sophisticated. The average toy drone has returned to home. But anyway, like anything, as soon as the masses gravitate towards something, as soon as something becomes really, really popular, all of a sudden there has to be regulation. As far as I'm concerned, this is safe as houses. Much more safe than a remote control plane being flown by the seat of your pants. Definitely much more safer than your average remote control helicopter. I don't know what all the fuss is about. You know, I think the privacy issue has been blown right out of proportion, but that's just my opinion. You know, these are starting to be used for life-saving. They're starting to be used by the ambulance industry to get through traffic so they can drop off the needed medication and whatever else that they might need on site, because the ambulance can't get through because everyone's blocking them. Okay, these things are amazing, and they're going to get better and better as time goes on. This is a workhorse, boys and girls. It is capable of so much, and it's been given a bad name. It's been given a bad name by the exaggerated stories you've seen in the media, and it seems like every lay person in the street now is a drone expert. You know, you can't go flying with one of these, even if you're doing the right thing, without someone coming up to you and telling you, you can't do that, that's illegal. You need to land, you do this, you did that, you can't do this, you can't do something else. Everyone is an expert, even the people who aren't into RC. Now this is a quad. You may have seen the review I did on this a few months back. It's not actually called a drone, although it is a drone, but it's better known as a quad. This is a drone. They don't actually call this a quad, they call this a drone. And when you see something like this, it's more aptly known as a quad. Now this can be FPV, but it's not. This flies 3D, it's bloody fast and it's furious. You may have seen the video, and that's what I've labelled it as when I did the test flight. But this thing is flown at tree height level. And all the FPV quads are flown at tree height level. So there's no height issue with these things, but their speed is starting to become an issue in my books, right? Some of these, not this particular one, can do over 100 miles an hour at tree height level in a park. So if you think that the height restriction is an issue, these things are getting so fast, the average FPV quad and the speed and agility at which they fly, I think that's sort of flying under the radar, no pun intended. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really want an 80 to 100 mile an hour quad flying near me down the park. You can't see them anyway, they're so small, that's why you fly them FPV. All in all, I just think drones, quads, whatever you want to call them, I think there's just so much misinformation out there about them, and in some cases I think it's deliberate, and I think the average person just needs to calm down and truly understand what they are, what they do, how they're used. Okay, it's not about flying over buildings and infrastructure and endangering other people's lives. It's not what we're truly on about. It's not what the average flyer is on about. You know, if you've got something like this, trust me, even if you belong to a club, there is absolutely no point flying this down the park, even legally, or at a club, even legally, and do what? Take a picture of what? Take a footage of what? What? The grass, the oval, the surrounding tree line. That's not what this is for. This is a workhorse, boys and girls. This is a workhorse. It's got so much more, and we're being restricted with what we can do with them. This, on the other hand, is a play horse. This and others like it are a play horse. We don't use this to fly 400 feet, over 120 metres. We don't use these to fly over houses. We don't use these to peer over backyards and take any footage. We use these for flying fun, right? It's not used for taking footage of anything other than the flight path. The difference between this and this thing flies at tree height level, flies through hoops, might do a split S, might do a bit of a loop. You know, essentially, it's for flying low level. It's, you know, you can even have a lot of fun with these by visual line of sight. You don't have to use FPV, which is what I do at the moment. This is not an FPV one for me. But there are bigger ones and there are smaller ones. You know, you've probably heard the categories, the 5-inch quad, the 3-inch quad, the tiny whoops. Well, they're all FPV quads that all fly at tree height level or below, and some of them are getting bloody fast, and they all come under the same new regulation CAS is introducing that belong to these. This is over 250 grams. It's going to have to be registered. Even though I just fly it for fun, for an hour or two maybe, once a week, weather permitting. That's where this has gone. That's where we're all heading. I mean, come on, let's face it, man. Most of us just go down the park and we have some fun with our quads. This is just sometimes getting blown right out of proportion in the name of corporates that have their own agenda. Drones, drones, drones. You know, there are no more UFO sightings. Have you noticed? They're all drone sightings. Even if you haven't been properly able to identify it, you're allowed to say, I think it was a drone. Right? There's no such thing as a UFO anymore. Remember those UFOs? Unidentified flying object. Well, apparently now they're all drones. Right? And remember my opening? This is a drone, this is a drone, this is a drone. You know why I showed my aeroplanes and my helicopters? Because they're all under the category of RPA, remote piloted aircraft. They all practically come under the same drone category rules and regulations. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. That was my little bit of a rant. I hope I've made some sense, and I hope you know where I'm coming from with all this, because I certainly don't want to stop flying RC aircraft. You know, it's not like we fly 5 days a week and we go to work, go to work twice on Saturday and Sunday. We work most of the time, and then we have fun for an hour or two, maybe half a day, like when you go to the footy. And weather permitting, we might fly our plane, or we might fly our drone, or our quad, or whatever it is you want to call it. It might be visual line of sight, it might be an FPV, but it doesn't consume us to the point where we do this 5-6 days a week. That's where this whole thing, in my opinion, has been blown right out of proportion. Speak to you next time. Bye for now.